I remember exactly where I was when my phone buzzed again, standing in the mirrored hallway of the Grant Stringer Hotel in downtown Chicago, the golden glow of streetlights flickering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I just stepped off the elevator on the 15th floor, midway through my first solo business trip as a project manager at Cortland Technologies, when my mom's name flashed across the screen. It was 8:17 p.m., and I'd been up since 5:30, rehearsing my pitch, fielding time zone calls with the Singapore office, and gulping bad coffee in the lobby. For once, I welcomed a break. "Hey, Mom." I dropped my suitcase on the plush carpet and sank onto an armchair. Alex, her voice came swift, strained. "It's Grandpa." My heart lurched. "What happened?" She hesitated. "It's bad. The hospital called me. They say he's in critical condition. Heart attack. Emergency surgery." I froze. My grandfather, Henry Wright, was 79, stoic as an oak. He'd survived 2 wars and outlived 3 wives. His Charleston townhouse was a museum of military memorabilia and oil portraits of dead ancestors. He called himself indestructible. But he was old. And alone, since Grandma Louise passed 2 years ago. "Which hospital?" "The Charleston Medical Center. They don't have many details. They want a family decision on his trust disbursement." Her voice cracked. "They say his accounts are locked and we need immediate access to his trust fund to cover his care. $5 million. My head spun. 5 million. I wanted to curse, but everything froze. I pictured Grandpa's stern jaw, the way he'd always demanded I call first before touching anything in his study, the mahogany desk with the hidden safe. He'd been so proud of the Wright family trust, the one he built from scratch after selling his hardware business in '82. I'd never seen the numbers, but I'd heard whispers, grand sums enough to make your head spin. "Mom, why is the hospital involved?" "They don't manage estates." I grabbed the armrests. "They just treat patients." She sniffed. "I know, that's why I'm panicking. They said the surgeons won't operate unless we authorize payment. They need proof we're his next of kin and that the funds are available." Something clicked into place in the recesses of my mind, a tiny alarm bell. But I set it aside. Grandpa could be dying. 5 million might save his life. "Okay," I said, voice tight. "What do you want me to do?" Her relief was audible. "I need you to call Carter and Marlborough, Grandpa's estate lawyers. Tell them I'm here. Get them to transfer the funds to a designated escrow. Then wire the money to the hospital account." They gave me the routing and account numbers. She rattled off a string of digits. I scribbled them. "Got it. I'll call them right now." "Thank you, honey," she whispered. "I'm so scared." I promised her I'd handle it and hung up. My hands trembled. I settled my phone in the hotel's bedside cradle. Yes, I was still old school and dialed the Wright family's attorneys. A recorded message greeted me. "Carter and Marlborough, serving Charleston and beyond. If you know the full name and file number, please enter now." I hovered. My grandfather's file number was in a letter he'd sent me last Christmas, but I was 200 miles and a locked hotel safe away from it. I punched 0 to reach an operator. After an interminable hold, a brisk assistant answered. I explained the urgent situation. Grandpa Wright, file number unknown, but fileable under his social asterisk, 4321. The assistant paused. "Mr. Wright, he has an appointment with his attorneys this Monday, and there is no record of any emergency trust disbursement." Her tone turned softer. "I'm sorry. Are you certain you have the right firm and will?" My pulse raced. My mother said the hospital called you. She said they needed the trust funds to cover surgery." "Ma'am," the assistant corrected me. "You said your name was Alex." "Right." I swallowed. "I'm his granddaughter. Alex Wright." I heard them type. "I'm in Chicago. My mom said you'll help." I listened as she checked notes. Then she exhaled. "Mr. Wright does have a trust account with us, but there are no such emergency stipulations. We haven't been contacted by any hospital." "I'm sorry, Alex, but it sounds like a misunderstanding." My throat tightened. I thought of my mother's panicked voice. Could you check his account status? Maybe someone's trying to redirect it." She hesitated. "We take instructions only from the grantor, or designated executors. I can't disclose details over the phone. But if there was a transfer, our records would show it. There is no such transfer. No transfer. No hospital. And my mother was in Charleston, supposedly at the hospital. Something wasn't right. Thank you, I said, voice hollow, and hung up. I stared at the phone as if it might crack open and reveal the truth. My next call was to the Charleston Medical Center switchboard. They confirmed no Henry Wright in their emergency or surgery schedules. No record of a call to a Mrs. Vivian Wright requesting payments. No helipad. No emergency trust disbursement requisitions. My heart plummeted. My mother's voice, full of panic and tears, must have been an act. A con. She had conspired to empty Grandpa's trust account. But why? And where was she now? I sank onto the hotel bed, phone in hand. The clock read 8:52. I messaged my mother. What hospital? No reply. Which surgeon? No reply. Call me. Still nothing. Adrenaline flared. I grabbed the info she'd texted. The routing numbers. The supposed hospital account. I Googled them. It was a shell account, opened at a small bank in Wilmington, North Carolina. A bank I'd never heard of. I leapt off the bed. Damn, I muttered. Wilmington was a 5-hour drive or a quick puddle jumper flight. My business dinner was in 40 minutes, but that could wait. I had to stop her before 5 million vanished. I dialed my colleague, Priya, in the Singapore office on WhatsApp. Emergency, call me right now. Half a minute later, she buzzed in. I filled her in, fake hospital, shell account. Mom's con, need a flight to Wilmington ASAP. She blinked through the pixelated screen. I'll cover the pitch. Go, she said. Get a rental car. Text me your ETA. I grabbed my suitcase, threw on my raincoat, and bolted from the room. In the lobby, I spotted an Avis desk. The line was short. I explained, need a car for Wilmington immediately. They pulled up a map. Our last Shelby sedan's right here. You grab it, head to the airport express lane. We'll do paperwork later. God bless corporate, right? I handed over my license, took the key, and sprinted to the garage. The Shelby's engine purred as I jetted onto Michigan Avenue, tore south for O'Hare, weaving around taxis and buses. My heart hammered so loud I thought every driver could hear it. I hit 75 miles per hour on the expressway. I called my dad, though our relationship was strained. He picked up on the third ring. Dad, I said, voice shaky. Call Mom. Ask if Grandpa's okay, and if she's at the hospital. Now, then call the doctors yourself, and confirm. Tell me what you find. He hesitated. What's going on? She staged an emergency, I blurted. She's trying to steal his trust money. 5 million. Silence. Then I'll call her. I hung up and turned on the radio. Nothing but static storms. Tension made me honk at an old lady strolling in the crosswalk. I was a woman possessed. At O'Hare, lava lamp lights guided me to a flight board. Next flight to Wilmington, 9:45 p.m. On Breeze Air. It was 9:03. I ran to the terminal, my suitcase bouncing. They closed the gate at 9:15. I found the line already forming. My heart sank, only 6 seats left. I sidled up to the agent. Please, I'll pay anything to get on, I begged. Flashing my corporate ID, she eyed me, then her screen. Last seat, gate B23. But you'll need to pay a change fee of $450 plus $200 for last-minute premium. My jaw dropped, but I swiped my card. Thank you. I raced down the terminal, shoving past vacationers. My boarding pass printed a little square. Seat 14A. I tore it off, sprinted through the gate, and out across the tarmac, via a blinking bus that bounced us to the waiting 737. I plopped into 14A. The flight attendant gave a sympathetic nod as she handed me a tiny bottle of water. I sank back, closing my eyes just as the seatbelt sign flicked on. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Mom says Grandpa's fine. She's not by his side. She's in Wilmington. My chest constricted. She'd flown ahead of me. The plot tangled deeper. The plane bucked as we climbed into the night sky. I stared out at the distant suburbs of Chicago, the runway lights glowing like fireflies receding. Words raced through my mind. Fake emergency, shell account, Wilmington rendezvous. What the hell was she planning? I'll never forget the first glimpse of Wilmington's tarmac, the humid air that hit me like a wall, and the sight of my mother, hands on her hips, waiting by a black SUV, her face a mask of triumph, and something colder, sharper, something I'd never seen in her eyes before. She turned, spotted me, and for a heartbeat, I thought she'd run to me. Instead, she reached into her purse, pulled out my grandfather's signet ring, engraved a reg, and held it between thumb and forefinger, as though offering it back. Then she tossed it to the driver, who stowed it in the glove box. She climbed into the SUV and drove away, her silhouette disappearing into the humid North Carolina night. I followed in my rental, heart pounding, headlights illuminating the rear of that SUV, Mom's SUV, and somewhere in the back seat, the $5 million I'd sworn to save. I floored the Shelby's accelerator as soon as I cleared airport security, my knuckles white on the leather steering wheel. The black SUV with the tinted windows that carried my mother. My mother disappeared into the humid Wilmington night like a phantom. My rear view mirror shuddered with reflections of neon gas station signs, and I realized I had no idea where she was heading. I punched the address into my phone's GPS, a warehouse district on the edge of town, where old cotton mills and abandoned shipping depots sat silent under flickering street lamps. The directions came through as a series of turns that felt more like a net tightening around me. I thumbed through my contacts to call Dad. He'd texted that she'd flown alone, no mention of Grandpa's condition, only to see him already on my recent list. No point, he was still in Charleston, 2 states away, tangled in his own confusion. I punched the Shelby into drive, tires whining as I rounded the corner onto Commerce Street. Rusted train tracks bisected the road and the taillights of my Target glowed red at the far end. My pulse thundered. If she's taken the money, it's in that car. $5 million. Not just numbers on a ledger, but my family's legacy, Grandpa's life work, the trust he built to provide for generations to come. And now it was slipping through her fingers, me chasing ghosts in a rental sedan. Behind me, the Shelby roared, catching up. My heart sank when I saw the SUV ease into a deserted loading bay. Mom stepped out, white heels clicking against concrete, her silhouette crisp against the warehouse door's floodlight. She looked radiant, regal, even in a tailored cream blazer, as if she were preparing for a boardroom, not a crime scene. I parked 20 feet back, cut the engine, and sat in the dim glow of the instrument panel, debating my next move. My phone buzzed a text from Priya. "Pitch went great. Call you when you get back." I slipped her a one-word reply. "Later." I slipped out, edging closer under the cloak of darkness. Rust flakes crunched under my sneakers. My mother didn't notice me at first. She was speaking to someone inside the warehouse. I crouched behind a stack of pallets and peered around. "Ma'am," a low voice rumbled. "Everything's ready." She turned, smile tight. "Good." She held up the signet ring, Grandpa's ring, shining in the harsh floodlight. "As soon as the money hits the account, I want it moved out." No digital trace. A figure stepped into the light, tall in a charcoal suit, face obscured by shadow. "Trust me, Miss Wright. The transfer is masked through 3 Swift nodes and 3 crypto mixers. By morning, it'll be untraceable." My breath caught. She was dealing with money launderers. This was no family spat. This was organized crime. I swallowed and stepped into view. The man's voice faltered. My mother spun, eyes widening. "Alex," her voice was brittle, a porcelain mask cracking. I stalked forward, fists clenched. "What the hell is going on?" She took a shaky step back. "Alex, don't Alex in me." I swallowed fury and fear. "You faked Grandpa's emergency. You stole $5 million. You're laundering it with these thugs." She flinched, as though punched. The man in the suit melted back into darkness. Mom looked at the warehouse door, then back at me. "It's not what you think. Try me." Her breath caught. She glanced at the ring in her hand, as if torn between 2 worlds. "It was the only way." I laughed, a harsh bark. "The only way to what? Ruin Grandpa's life savings? Let the whole family suffer?" She closed her eyes. "I did it to save him." I blinked. "Save him? From what?" She swallowed, voice low. "From himself." She sighed, stepping toward me. "Grandpa's trust. Grandpa's going bankrupt. And he doesn't see it. His hardware empire, the rental properties, they're hemorrhaging money. We've been hacked, Alex. Someone's siphoning funds from the business, and Grandpa refuses to believe it. He blames everyone but the real culprit." My world tilted. "Hacked how? By whom?" "By me," she whispered. "And by others you don't know." I shook my head, stunned. "You stole the trust money to stop him from signing over the rest before they cleaned him out completely." Tears glistened in her eyes. "Yes." She held out the signet ring. "I was going to give it back, but I needed time to secure the trust, move it into safe accounts, crypto vaults, offshore protections, places where the hackers couldn't reach. I stared at the ring, the symbol of Grandpa's legacy, his authority. My chest tightened. You could have told me. I tried. Her lips quivered. You were so busy. You were in Chicago. Dad was. She closed her eyes. Everyone was so naive, thinking Grandpa had it all under control. When the first transfer happened, 200,000, it looked like a bad vendor dispute. Then 500,000. Then her voice cracked. Then it was too late. I felt the pieces snap into place. The missing dividends on our dividend statements, the shell accounts under innovative funding solutions, the late-night calls from a CFO in tears. Grandpa had been prey. I had to do something, she whispered. If the hackers emptied the trust, you and your cousins would have nothing. I couldn't let that happen. She swallowed. I thought I could rig the system, reroute the funds, and then tell Grandpa. Once the money was safe, I'd explain everything. But I never expected it to snowball like this. I exhaled slowly, adrenaline draining. So you faked a heart attack, called me in a panic, sent me on a wild goose chase to occupy me. She flinched. I'm sorry. And you hired criminals to launder the money. I spat the words, full of hurt and disbelief. Mom, she bit her lip. They were the only ones who could do it fast enough and untraceably. I gave them the account details. They gave me the crypto wallets. It was meant to be a temporary stay. I honestly thought I could reverse the flow once it was all in place. I felt anger war with sympathy. She'd broken every trust in the book, and for a cause that on the surface sounded noble. What about Grandpa? He thinks he's bankrupt? Her shoulders shook. He's in denial. He told Dad this morning he'd resign as trustee because he couldn't figure out where the money went. He's devastated. He thinks it's a family betrayal. I closed my eyes, vision swimming. He'll be crushed. She nodded, tears streaming now. I know, but if we don't protect the trust now, the hackers will drain it completely, and then we lose everything. Not just the money, but the family home, the businesses, the scholarships he set up. I swallowed. The truth felt like a jagged shard. I loved my mother, but she'd crossed a line. Yet she'd acted out of love too. In that moment, I understood the twisted calculus of desperation. Where's the money now? I demanded. She reached into her jacket and withdrew a slim ledger, a handwritten list of crypto addresses, private keys scrawled in blue ink. Here, it spread across 3 wallets, Mercury, Orion, and Valkyrie. Once the hackers tried to breach Valkyrie, it froze them out. I've been monitoring them. I took the ledger, fingers trembling. The truth wasn't pretty, but it was true. We need to move it again, somewhere Grandpa can't touch, but where it's protected until we sort this out. She exhaled, relief and terror mingling. Yes, we ducked inside the loading bay to avoid prying eyes. The warehouse door rattled in the wind, paint peeling like scabs. She set the ledger on the hood of the Shelby. I shone my phone light over the pages. Mom, I said softly, we have to come clean to Grandpa. She looked at me, hope flickering. You think so? I nodded. He has a right to know. He's the grantor. Even if he's in denial, he deserves the truth. She swallowed hard. I'm so sorry, Alex. I sighed, tucking the ledger into my jacket. We'll fix this together, but we're never doing anything like this again. She nodded, tears falling silently. We slipped back into the Shelby, door closing with a soft click, and I steered us away from the warehouse, back toward the city lights. Dawn of reckoning. By the time we pulled into Grandpa's Charleston home, at 5 a.m., the sky was paling with dawn. The moss-draped oaks cast long shadows across the drive. I parked the Shelby in front of the grand columned portico. The ring, Grandpa's ring, symbol of his authority, sat on the dash like an accusing star. We climbed the wide steps and stood at the massive oak door. Inside, the house smelled of polished floors and old paper. Family portraits gazed down stern ancestors, in powdered wigs, my mother as a child at Christmas, my grandfather in uniform. He was waiting in his study, an emerald green lamp illuminating his white hair and steel blue eyes. He looked a little smaller beneath the portraits, but still the same indomitable man who'd raised me on stories of duty and honor. When he saw us, he rose brittle with confusion. Vivian, he rasped, glancing first at Mom, then at me. What are you doing back here? Mom swallowed, stepping forward. Grandpa, I need to speak with you. Her voice shook. He frowned. After yesterday, I thought I cut in gently. Grandpa, sit down. I guided him to his leather armchair. He sat, eyes darting. Mom perched on a stool beside him. I took a seat across, fumbling for the ring in my jacket pocket. Grandpa watched, silent. Grandpa, I began, there's something you need to know about your trust. He tensed. The trust is gone, he whispered. I'm bankrupt. Mom's lips trembled. No. No, you're not. She opened her jacket and produced the ledger, carefully sliding it across the desk. Here are the details of what happened. I watched his face as he took the papers, eyes scanning the scrawled addresses, his brow furrowed. Mom swallowed. I redirected the funds. Not out of greed. I wanted to protect them from hackers who were draining your businesses. His eyes flicked up, wild. Hackers? I nodded. They'd stolen over $1 million already. We saw the transfers. He shook his head. My money. His voice broke. My life's work. My life's work. Mom reached for his hand. I'm sorry I didn't come to you first. But if we'd left it, they would have taken everything. I did it to save the trust for you and for us. A long silence. The only sound was the ticking of the antique clock on the mantel. Finally, Grandpa closed his eyes, exhaled. You saved it. Mom nodded, tears shining. We saved it. He looked at me, then at the ring that lay between us. Vivian stole my ring, he said, voice small. Why? Mom's tears fell. I panicked. I thought you would be safer without it for a while. He studied her, then me, and Alex. You stood by her. I swallowed. We did what we had to do. He closed his eyes again, gathering himself. I've taught you both about right and wrong, he whispered. But sometimes the world doesn't give you clean choices. He opened his eyes, sad but resolute. I forgive you for protecting this family. Mom's shoulders sagged. Thank you. He waved a hand at the ledger. Let's put it back. Over the next hours, with Grandpa reading over every ledger entry, negative balances turned to zero, and finally positive numbers. We transferred the crypto back into a newly minted trust account at Carter and Marlborough, with enhanced cybersecurity protocols. The money flowed home. When the final transaction confirmed $5 million safely returned, Grandpa rose unsteadily. He moved to his desk's hidden safe, flipped the combination, and withdrew the signet ring. He stepped to me, held it above my outstretched palm. Your mother may not have done it the right way, he said, voice thick. But she did it for the right reasons. And you made sure we could set it right. I'm proud of both of you. He pressed the ring into my hand. Keep it on one condition. I looked at him. Anything. Promise me, he said, fingers trembling, that next time you see injustice, you'll fight it together, but you'll always come to me first. Mom and I exchanged a glance. Tears brimmed in her eyes. I nodded. We promise. He smiled, small but genuine, and placed the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly, like fate. Outside, the morning sun gilded the live oaks, the air sweet with magnolias. We three stood in the study's warm glow, flawed, forgiven, and unbreakably bound. Weeks later, after Grandpa recovered from his non-existent heart scare, with renewed vigor and a habit of checking bank statements twice, our family gathered on the Charleston veranda for sweet tea and homemade lemon squares. The metal ring on my finger caught the sunset light, a reminder of the night we teetered on the edge of ruin, and of the promise we'd made to each other. Mom laughed, a real wholehearted laugh, when Grandpa recounted the emergency surgery that never was. I nudged her, and she squeezed my hand under the table. I leaned back, closing my eyes against the warmth and the laughter of family restored. $5 million, nearly lost forever. Reclaimed not by courts or lawsuits, but by love, courage, and a willingness to cross lines for the sake of the ones we've sworn to protect. And as the cicadas droned and the Spanish moss swayed, I realized that the truest twist in our story wasn't the heist. It was the revelation that sometimes, to preserve what matters most, you have to risk everything.